The Tower of London stands as one of the most iconic landmarks in England, drawing millions of tourists annually who come to explore its ancient walls, uncover its rich history, and for many, to delve into the eerie tales of its haunted past. Nestled on the River Thames, this monumental structure has served many roles over the centuries: fortress, royal palace, prison, armory, and treasury. Yet, the tower is perhaps most infamous for its role as the site of gruesome executions, political intrigue, and chilling apparitions that have earned it a reputation as one of the most haunted locations in Britain. In this article, we will journey through the Tower of London's dark and haunted history, uncovering the tragic events that have shaped its legacy. From royal betrayals to gruesome murders, the supernatural tales of the tower provide a spine-chilling glimpse into the past. What makes this place particularly terrifying is its long association with both the mundane and the macabre, where historical figures met untimely ends, and where their restless spirits are. The tower's origins. A fortress of Firth Tower of London was established by William the Conqueror in 1066 following his conquest of England. Originally constructed as a symbol of Norman power, the White Tower, the central structure, was completed in 1078. Over the centuries, successive monarchs expanded the fortress, adding walls, towers, and defenses to create a complex of buildings that served as the royal residence, a prison for enemies of the state, and a place for executions. The grim history of the Tower of London began almost immediately, with the building being used as a royal residence and military stronghold before gradually becoming a prison. This dark transformation set the stage for countless betrayals and tragic events, which would later lead to supernatural stories that continue to captivate imaginations today. A royal residence. The seeds of superstition. Although the Tower of London was primarily a fortress and prison, it also functioned as a royal residence for centuries. Some of England's most famous monarchs, including Henry VIII and his wives, resided here. The tower also housed the crown jewels and the royal menagerie. But the peaceful facade belies the dark events that began to take place within its stone walls, starting with the tumultuous reign of Henry VIII. Henry VIII's reign marked the beginning of a particularly dark chapter for the tower. His quest for a male heir, his 6 marriages, and his notorious execution of his wives and political enemies would forever link the tower with death and destruction. The execution of Anne Boleyn, perhaps one of the most infamous events to take place at the Tower of London and one of the most frequently cited as the origin of its haunted history, was the execution of Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's second wife. Anne Boleyn, once the Queen Consort, was executed on May 19, 1536, accused of adultery, incest, and treason. Many historians believe Anne's execution was politically motivated, as her failure to produce a male heir made her a liability to Henry VIII. Anne was beheaded on Tower Green, a part of the tower's outer courtyard. As the tale goes, she met her death with grace, making a final speech before kneeling for the executioner. However, her execution was far from peaceful. There are numerous accounts of her ghost haunting the tower, especially around the site of her execution. Several visitors have reported sightings of a woman in a gray gown carrying her head under her arm and walking near the Tower Green. This apparition is often said to be Anne, still wandering in search of justice for the injustice she faced. The tragic fate of Lady Jane Grey. Another haunting chapter in the tower's history is the tragic story of Lady Jane Grey, England's 9-day queen. In 1553, following the death of Edward VI, Lady Jane was proclaimed queen by her supporters, but her reign was short-lived. After just 9 days, she was deposed, and her cousin Mary I took the throne. Lady Jane was imprisoned in the Tower of London, and despite her youth and the fact that she had been a pawn in the political maneuverings of others, she was sentenced to death. On February 12, 1554, Lady Jane Grey was executed by beheading on Tower Green, despite her being only 16 years old at the time. It is said that Lady Jane's ghost haunts the tower, particularly near the spot where she was executed. Several witnesses have reported hearing her cries of despair and seeing a figure in a white gown wandering the tower's grounds. Some say her spirit is restless because she was wrongfully executed for crimes she did not commit. Her ghost is often seen accompanied by her sorrowful gaze, wandering endlessly around the tower. The Princes in the Tower. The lost heirs mystery of the princes in the tower is one of the most enduring unsolved crimes in British history. In 1483, King Edward IV died suddenly, leaving his two young sons Edward V and Richard, Duke of York, next in line for the throne. The two boys were placed in the Tower of London under the care of their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, who later became Richard III. After a short time, the princes mysteriously disappeared, and their fate has remained a subject of speculation ever since. Many believe that the princes were murdered, likely by Richard III, who was rumored to have had them killed in order to secure his own claim to the throne. The bodies of the princes were never found, and their disappearance continues to be one of history's great mysteries. Some historians believe that the bodies were secretly buried within the tower's walls, adding to the ghostly lore surrounding the fortress. Over the centuries, there have been numerous reports of ghostly figures of two young boys, dressed in clothing from the 15th century, seen near the Bloody Tower, where the princes were last seen. Witnesses have described hearing the sound of soft crying or the faint echo of children's laughter in the tower's halls. This spectral presence has been interpreted as the restless spirits of the lost princes, who never found peace after their untimely deaths. The haunting of Thomas Becket. While the Tower of London's association with executions and royal betrayal is well known, its association with the ghost of Thomas Becket is less widely acknowledged, but no less eerie. Thomas Becket, the Archbishop of Canterbury, was murdered in 1170 at the orders of King Henry II, who had been frustrated with Becket's opposition to royal interference in the church. Becket was killed in Canterbury Cathedral, but his ghost has reportedly been seen at the Tower of London on a number of occasions. According to some reports, Becket's ghost is seen wearing his archbishop's vestments and wandering the tower's corridors. The appearance of his spectral figure is believed to be a warning of impending doom or of the wrath of the church. Whether or not Becket's ghost has a significant connection to the tower remains unclear, but his spectral presence continues to add to the supernatural aura surrounding this haunted fortress. The ghost of the White Lady. One of the most enduring supernatural legends associated with the Tower of London is that of the White Lady. The White Lady is said to be the spirit of a woman who was wronged or murdered within the tower's walls. Some believe the White Lady is the ghost of Margaret Pole, the Countess of Salisbury, who was executed at the Tower in 1541 by Henry VIII. Margaret Pole was accused of plotting against the king and was executed by beheading. The White Lady is described as a pale figure dressed in a flowing white gown, often seen wandering the tower's grounds, particularly near the White Tower, where she is said to have been imprisoned before her execution. Some reports claim she is seen walking along the tower's walls, her eyes filled with sadness and longing. Her appearance is often considered an omen of death or misfortune. The haunted ravens. In addition to the human ghosts that haunt the Tower of London, there are also eerie tales surrounding the tower's famous ravens. According to legend, if the ravens were to ever leave the tower, the Kingdom of England would fall. The ravens have been a symbol of the tower for centuries, and their presence is integral to the fortress's haunted atmosphere. Several reports exist of strange and unsettling behavior from the ravens, who have been known to growl or screech at visitors. Some claim to have seen the ravens watching them intently with dark, knowing eyes, as if aware of the tower's dark secrets. There have even been reports of the ravens following individuals as they walk through the tower grounds, a chilling reminder of the curse that the birds are said to protect the kingdom from. The Tower of London is more than just a historic site. It is a living monument to the dark and tragic events of England's past. Its walls have borne witness to the suffering, betrayal, and death of countless individuals, many of whom are said to haunt its corridors to this day. From Anne Boleyn and Lady Jane Grey to the lost princes in the tower's ghostly inhabitants remain an enduring part of its history. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, there is no denying the eerie presence that still lingers within the tower's stone walls. It stands as a stark reminder of the price of power, the cruelty of political ambition, and the restless spirits of those who met their untimely end within its gates. The Tower of London, with its dark past, continues to be a place of mystery, horror, and fascination, forever entwined with the ghosts of its haunted history.